In this video, Maher not only reveals his own preconceptions, but he also justifies his condemnation of student demonstrations and Palestinian support as moral, while dodging his own blind spots. His logic shows him as the self-appointed protector of permitted thought, creating a narrative that not only disparages leftist voices, but also communicates his deep concern about movements beyond his control. This poses a more serious question. Are Maher's opinions really insightful, or are they just vestiges of a bygone viewpoint that is growing more alienated from a civilization that is rapidly changing around him? After watching the full discussion, you can make your own decision as we dive into a heated exchange between Bill Maher, Kasparian, and Cenk Uygur.
Speaking to Fareed Zakaria on CNN and equating the right-wing support of Vladimir Putin to left-wing, pro-peace, pro-Palestinian protesters on college campuses who we recently learned are heavily funded by...
Bill Maher's thesis in a featured clip offers a well-known but contentious sociological viewpoint on America's growing political divide, warning that both far-right and far-left radicals pose a threat to national unity. His key argument is that strong feelings on either side often result in support for foreign groups that do not share American values. He condemns the extreme right for seemingly backing Russia. On the other side, he criticizes far-left protests, which he believes promote Hamas. Maher argues that this pattern reflects a broader issue where ideological commitment outweighs basic national solidarity. He accuses figures like Tucker Carlson of promoting beliefs that echo Russian narratives. On the left, Maher targets university activists for supporting groups such as Hamas, which he believes contradict American principles. He thinks that instead of focusing on unity at home, both sides risk dragging domestic politics into international conflicts. However, this view has received significant pushback. Critics like Kasparian argue that Maher's analysis oversimplifies complex situations and often misrepresents the motivations behind these political positions. Many on the left claim their sympathy for Palestinians stems from humanitarian and human rights concerns, not support for terrorism. They argue that Maher's stance dangerously blurs the line between alignment and advocacy. This debate highlights a broader problem in political discourse: how to address global conflicts without relying on broad generalizations. Maher's view suggests foreign allegiance is a natural result of radicalism, but that assumption ignores historical context and the ideological nuances of the groups he criticizes, as well as their local roots.
During this interview, Bill Maher also attempted and failed to prove that he isn't a massive hypocrite for smearing these student protesters. Let's take a look.
I heard a couple of people say, or maybe they wrote it online, that, well, I'm a hypocrite because you were for the demonstrators in 1968 or whatever it was when they were demonstrating against the Vietnam War. Yeah, that was very different. First of all, the students weren't against their own. These students were threatening other students. That didn't happen in the Vietnam War. And being against the Vietnam War made sense. It was a war that we probably should not have been in. But this is demonstrating and protesting for a terrorist group.
No, you can't protest what Israel is doing. That, by definition, according to Bill Maher.
The young Turks' reactions, especially from Kasparian, reflect a larger ideological divide in how pro-Palestinian protests are portrayed in US media. They criticize Maher for framing these demonstrations as sympathetic to terrorism rather than as genuine expressions of support for peace and human rights. This distinction matters. They argue that Maher's interpretation feeds into a media pattern that presents Palestinian support as radical or dangerous, thus stigmatizing and marginalizing activists. Maher's remarks about the young Turks expose a broader issue in media: an unwillingness to present the full complexity of foreign conflicts. He's accused of ignoring the historical and humanitarian context by reducing the conversation to binaries like us versus them. His supporters may argue that he's confronting uncomfortable truths, but his critics say he distorts reality by oversimplifying. They claim that the nuance and depth necessary for meaningful dialogue are lost. The Young Turks encourage viewers, to look past the sensationalism and focus on what these activists are truly advocating. Not violence, but justice, equality, and an end to long-standing oppression. They believe that in today's polarized media landscape, distinguishing between real and performative activism is more crucial than ever.
And the funny thing is that smug prick thinks he's such a radical and a revolutionary. I'm gonna say it even though people don't want me to say it. Israel is right. Oh, you idiot. Everyone on TV says that. You're saying the most standard trite propaganda of all time. You serve the establishment.
So there were other parts of the interview worth getting into. For instance, Maher responded to accusations that he himself has changed, making him not so friendly to the left or the Democratic Party. Let's hear what he had to say about that.
People who say to me, and there are many who say, I loved Bill Maher, but he has matured too much. He's become cranky. He's become crotchety. He's become one of those old guys who says,
Really?
The kids are crazy. It was better in my day. What do you say to them?
They're wrong. I mean, they're wrong, and the kids are crazy. It's interesting. They have this idea, the younger generation, maybe every generation does, that just because something is new makes it better. And that's not true. New is not synonymous with better.
But you're sounding like an old-fashioned conservative.
Okay.
But the incorrect part is, he says, this is all cancel culture and I'm against cancel culture. Are you? Because you advocated for arresting anyone who speaks out against Israel. You actually love cancel culture. You even want people arrested if they disagree with you. So now you just don't like cancel culture when it's issues you don't agree with, and if it hurts your bottom line because you were getting paid a lot of money to go appear at college campuses and now you're not. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that going to hurt your multi-million-dollar fortune?
Right.
The final segment of the discussion between the Young Turks and Bill Maher centers around cancel culture and how selectively it's applied. They argue that Maher's defense of free speech is often less about encouraging open dialogue and more about protecting his own viewpoints. They specifically point out that when it comes to criticism of Israel, Maher seems more inclined to support silencing or suppressing dissenting voices, despite condemning cancel culture in other contexts. They accuse Maher of hypocrisy, denouncing cancel culture when it targets voices he supports, yet condoning it when it targets those he disagrees with. This double standard raises a more important question for our society.